Hello, well it's been a while, a long while. I'm sure most of you have forgotten who I am if you ever knew any in the first place. But I thought today I've had this for a while actually, I've had this since Christmas, but I've only got around to doing it now. And it's an issue of the Beatles Book monthly, number 52, dated November 1967. So it was a present from my mum and dad. And it cost £4. Not too bad from the 2 shillings it originally cost. This is a genuine first edition or whatever it might be. So there we are. So that's the front cover. Now I'm going to show you the inside as well. I'm not just going to tease you with it. And that's the back cover. So I'll take it out of this protective gubbins. Oh, there it is. Take it out that way. There we are. And there it is in all its glory. This is quite extraordinary actually. It's there. So there straight away you've got the editorial, you've got a nice picture of Ringo with Ivor Cutler there. The majority of this is about the Magical Mystery Tour film. So the editorial, hi, October 1962, 5 years ago, according to this. The month that Love Me Do first spun onto the crowded disc market. The market for crowded discs, apparently. 1967. And still the name Beatles excites and stirs the imaginations of people all over the world. John, Paul, George and Ringo have never been slow or afraid to speak up for what they believe in, or to admit that they were wrong if they changed their minds. Right now, they are speaking up very strongly for meditation. As usual, there are people who don't agree with them, but the knockers should remember that there's no reason for them to go out of their way to say anything about it at all. It's only because they believe that meditation can help other people that they are making such a big effort. In this issue, I've included some of the things that John and George spoke about when they appeared on the David Frost programmes on September 29th and October the 4th. So, there we are. I'm not going to read the whole thing out to you, but I'm going to sort of read out certain bits. But the editorial is quite interesting. John and Paul certainly could do with a bit of mental peace and quiet right now. During the past month, they've been hard at work in a small studio in London, editing all the hundreds of bits of film that they shot on their coach tour and at West Malling. The Beatles certainly like to try to do the impossible. Most people will be happy just writing the script and songs for the television show, without directing and editing it as well. Some people. We've got a very unusual competition for you this month. So there we are. And the competition was that all you have to do is recognise the Beatles. Now it's not as easy as it sounds, because they're wearing costumes which cover them from head to toe. Full details now you can enter on the 11th, page 31. And then there's a thank you to John Kelly, the photographer. That's from Johnny Dean, the editor. But that's, you know, it's a proper fan magazine. November newsletter, Frida Kelly from Frida Kelly here. You know, so Beatles official fan club. Well, that was a nice picture of Paul there. If you're one of those weirdos that think that he died before that than somebody else, but that's Paul McCartney right there. You know, so Mike McGee dropped by the other day to talk about his Radio 1 Mike McGee is here. We've got the scaffold, Janet Owen. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm not going to read the whole thing out, but just it might be of interest to some people. And we've got a series of reports from the fan club secretaries who travelled with the Beatles on the Magical Mystery Tour. So you've got a series of nice, interesting pictures there. A nice bit there. Sort of first one from Frida Kelly, who many Beatle people will know anyway. So that's not. And then you've got Jesse Robbins there being mic'd up and something else there. I can't see what that is. Yeah, so no, Beatles playing with kids and things. There's also a report by Jenny Crowley. There's some interesting things in here actually. We chatted for ages with Richie We talked about everything from Moe's new baby to the offer Richie had just received to appear with stars like Marlon Brando and Richard Burton in the Hollywood film Candy. So it's references to things, yeah. We filmed in all kinds of different places, including little wayside pubs, a chip shop in Taunton, and a tent in a field near Newquay. You know. During the meal, John started singing Frida Kelly is an Ellie at the top of his voice. Paul added, and she has pimples on her knees. Somehow, not saying the word belly is somehow funny, I don't know. Yeah, so it's some quite sort of interesting stuff. There's another report here by Barbara King. So I'm not reading the whole thing yet because that's just not what this video is. And the fourth report by Sylvia Nightingale. So John at Home, Part 2. So this is a picture. There's a nice picture there of John with Julian. That's a nice thing. In front of the swimming pool. So there's a sort of part 2 of an interview with the things. There's John's garden is smaller than Ringo's, but possibly a little larger than George's. So there you go. You know. So that's information that you didn't know you needed. Some more photos there. That's that. Terrifying, that panda, isn't it? It's a nice sort of centerfold there of George with putting something in his mouth. Not the sort of centerfold that somebody might be used to. But there's a centerfold nonetheless. Right, so this is from Beatle people. This is interesting. So, winner of a free subscription. Dear Beatles, I am sick and tired of hearing people say to me, oh, the Beatles are out. Okay, so who started the craze for Indian clothes? Who started the craze for badges? Who was the first group who attempted really producing a completely different sound on records? Who started the craze for psychedelic painting? Who still has more #1 records than anybody else? The answer is, of course, the Beatles. It's really angry. Letter, you know. Whatever people say, you are still the most listened to and most talked about group in the world. That's probably still true, actually. You also care about what you are doing. Why else would you slog away solidly in the recording studios for 4 months? And if you didn't want to, you needn't work for the rest of your lives. It's about time people stop criticising you. So this criticism of the Beatles was there while they were still active, really. Because you are doing a really good job for the world and everybody in it. Slightly over-egging it, I think. I don't just mean by giving people something to listen to, but also something to think about. Lots of love from a Beatle addict, Anne Ponsonby, Wensley House, Wensley, Laybury, Yorkshire. P.S. Thank Mo, Sin, Jane and Patty for looking after you all so well. Has that been from a bloke and said that? I'll be slightly dubious, but... Dear Paul, could you please arrange for the Beatles book to become waterproof? The one thing I find wrong with the extra fab book is that I couldn't do which I couldn't do without, is that I can't read it in the bath. If I do, I get you all wet and soapy. Lots of love, sincere love. Carlisle Davidge, 11 Parrot Court, Elmbridge Avenue, Surbiton. Sorry. Well, Carlisle, I would suggest that you sort of hold it up a little bit higher. That'd be my suggestion. Don't read it like that, because it will get wet. Just hold it like that. You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. Dearest John, you're adorable. Says in brackets. Wouldn't it be great if there was a Beatle town? You know, a town named after you Fab Four. And the streets and avenues named after you. They'd be named like John Avenue, McCartney Street, Ringo Road, Harrison Drive, Lennon Crescent, etc., etc. And in this Beatle town lived only Beatle people. You know, members of the fan club. Ooh, it would be fab. Why can't somebody think of this and get building? Maybe Ringo's Bricky Builders would like to start, eh? Or my Beatle loving, from a devoted Lennon maniac forever, John Ishley, oh yes, Linda Walker, 35 Bankfield Avenue, Kirkheaton near Huddersfield, Yorkshire. P.S. All my love to Julie and Zach and Jason, they're all gorgeous, because they take after their famous dads, of course. P.P.S. Lennon reigns deep in my heart, and then a series of kisses. That's ridiculous amount. Yeah, so, dear Johnny, there you go. I must congratulate the Beatles Monthly Book on reaching its half-century issue. I hope I'm around to see it celebrate its century, which I know it will. With the Beatles progressing so much, I know they will continue to be leaders of the music world, but they have so much to offer. Thank you for the gorgeous pictures of John and Julian in this issue. Julian is such a bonny little boy. I sincerely hope there is a family portrait in the next issue, as you have the Star family in this one. So the one previously had a picture of Maureen and Zach and Jason and Ringo. So interesting. Thanks anyway for all the wonderful pictures and information about the Beatles over the past 4 years. There is one question whilst you and Leslie Bryce were down at John's place taking the photos for Beatles Monthly. You didn't happen to see the shield, for which I have enclosed the photo of same. I had it specially made for John and sent it to him back in June. Sincerely, Mrs. E. L. Reed, 15 Fieldmore Road, Hardway, Gosport, Hants. Johnny Dean answers. So there's the editor. Yes, I did see a shield, which looked very like the one you sent. There's no picture of it there, which is a bit frustrating. So let's... Oh, I know, I'm folding it. Dear John, I am writing to tell you that I think you're one of the richest men in the world, because you have an Aunt Mimi. While visiting London in September, my girlfriend and I got permission to spend a few hours with your Aunt Mimi. I have never in my entire life met a woman quite like her. Her heart must be made of pure gold, and a soul of sincerity. Yes, it's that kind of letter. I enjoyed fully my time spent with her, discussing your music, your fans, the world in general. She spoke freely, was honest, and warm-hearted. We laughed, drank tea, and listened to Beatle records together. When it came to saying goodbye, I felt like I was leaving an old friend, someone I had known for years. I found her holding my hands tightly and wishing me a safe trip home. As she held my hands, I felt that I had gained in our meeting. I had become a bit richer in just knowing her for a few hours. Richer in thought, admiration, respect, and friendship. But you, John, are the richest of all. You have Aunt Mimi. Love, Sharon Gertzinger, 621 South 46th Street, Baltimore. So, P.S. Give my best to George. So let's say it. Dear Ravi George. This is to plead with you to make an LP or even an EP of Indian music. Please please me, Georgie, by doing this. So, this is interesting. By doing this, I could just go on listening to your beautiful music forever, but I just have to keep playing without you, says here, and love you too. So 2 songs spelled wrong, over and over again. I wouldn't mind hearing them so much, but it would be nice to put on an EP and I should jump up when one song was finished. Don't think I've abandoned Beatle music. I love both very, very much, but your Indian music is so special and wonderful. Hope you'll try to do as I ask. All my deepest love goes to you and the other guys. Mary, kiss, 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 kiss. 43 High Street, Macclesfield, Cheshire. P.S. Love to Patty, she's just fantastic. But what's interesting about that letter is I don't know how close to the Wonderwall music and all that sort of thing George was. I don't imagine that he was particularly. We may have read it, but I don't know. But that may have been an inspiration for George to sort of, if he was planning on doing it anyway, just sort of think, perhaps there's an interest there, so maybe that's something. Dear Johnny, I have just read my Beatles Monthly number 51 and I'm most annoyed with Mary Watson, who said she did not want to show pics of Cynthia and Jane. She said it was a natural feeling of jealousy and then stated she loves Patty and Maureen. If she is jealous of Cynthia and Jane, why not of Maureen and Patty as well? Perhaps she likes John and Paul best of the Beatles. Please, Johnny, take no notice and print pics of Jane and Cynthia, with John and Paul, of course. I knew it would annoy some people if you printed such pics, but it would also please a lot of others, me for instance. In my opinion, Jane and Cynthia, Patty and Maureen are all great girls, to go out with great guys. Love to John, Paul, George, Ringo, Sin, Jane, Patty, Maureen, Julian, Zach and Jason. So that's from Barbara Shepherd of Lancaster. And there's Long Live the Beatles. Dearest Paul, John, Ringo and George. Sorry for putting you last, George, but don't worry, I love you all the same. Congratulations on, once again, being voted Britain's top vocalist group. Yahoo! I went a bit berserk when I read about it, but seriously, boys, no one, repeat, no one deserves it more than you four. You're not only the best singers on our earth, not just any old earth, our earth, but also the best looking. So I'm sure people everywhere will want to join me in saying once more, congratulations. All my devoted love to my lovely four. And that's from Mary in Cheshire. So, it's interesting, sort of, the fan adulation was there then at the time. And then we got Behind the Spotlight from Billy Shepherd and Johnny Dean. So another sort of photo. I said, I don't think I showed you actually the little illustrations that I've got going with the letters there. That's quite nice, isn't it? With a picture of Ringo there with a fag in his mouth. When I say a fag in his mouth, for any American viewers maybe watching, I don't mean a homosexual, I mean a cigarette. I don't think there are any photographs anywhere of Ringo with a homosexual in his mouth. Or any kind of sexual for that matter. So there we go. There's more photos there. It's a nice one of John actually. And there's Tonight Meditation, John and George being interviewed, which is nice. Some stills from the film or some outtakes or whatever. Yeah. And that's the I think this came out before the EP did, and so that's the first glimpse of the infamous Love 3 Beatles drum kit with the shoes. But I think that's all bollocks, but that's just me. Well, I really don't think it's bollocks as good as bollocks, but that's, and there's sort of sorts of people there, the Beatles on bikes, and with Mandy Wheater, she was called then, played the thing there. So that Beatles India trip delayed, Ringo's film, special Christmas releases, Beatles recording studio, all sorts of things there. There's a picture there of Ringo looking quite pensive, and either that or he shat himself. And that's the spot the Beatle competition there. So you've got which one's which. My money's on that one, but that being Paul, but that's just me. So so it isn't. But yes, there we go. So I thought that'd be an interesting little thing to sort of look at and examine and read from, and just hopefully give you a bit of, I don't know, it may be an incredibly common edition, I don't know, but it's an interesting little piece. So yeah, so that's there. That's good. Okay, so thank you for watching. And if you made it to the end, congratulations. And I will hopefully see you again a lot sooner than I saw you again last time, or vice versa, or whatever. You see me again, or whatever. Anyway, all right. Tatty bye.